Hello there, friends, and welcome back to more Bravely Default. Last time, Airy betrayed us as we entered the Holy Pillar for the final time, but we fought her off. She is officially gone from the party, and she fled to the Great Chasm where the Dark Aurora waits for her. But before we can go and track her down, we need to head back to the Sage's place so we can make an official plan of attack. He was the one that warned us about the evil one all that time ago. Perhaps he has something for us. Real quick though, I do want to check up on Rende Village. I know, it's really weird that I'm saying that, even though we're finished. I just want to go ahead and grab some items because, of course, that's still very important. You're free to save now, by the way. That was something that I have been mentioning the past few videos, is that saving is a little weird. And I have a few stories about that with the Airy fight and whatnot, but I'll get to that in just a second. First things first, let's talk to the Sage.
Is the time finally come? There is much I would speak of. At last. At long last.
Sage, we must rely on your wisdom. You are all we have.
Though I fear I am far from all-knowing myself, child. Ouroboros, the celestial realm. It's the first I've heard of most of this.
No. What are we to do if even you don't know? How do we stop this?
Patience, child. He will be with us presently. Ah, and here he is.
All here, I see. No need for pleasantries. I'm more or less aware of the situation.
Then let's begin.
Begin what?
Agnes, take the pendant you received from the sage and raise it aloft.
All right. Like this?
That will do. Now, for the rest. Line up behind Agnes and join hands, all of you.
Right.
May I ask why?
As party to these events, you have the right to know. And the desire as well, I expect. The revelation as spoken by the angel.
Shall we?
Indeed.
What's happening?
Shh. Remain silent.
O warriors of light, hearken unto these words, should they reach you yet. The mark upon the evil one heralds the beginning. The bringer of ruin has risen. His name is Ouroboros. Ouroboros, bringer of ruin, shall devour all worlds linked by his harbinger. You and your world, and the whole of life on myriad other worlds now face extinction. Hear me, warriors. Ouroboros must not be loosed upon creation. You must use every ounce of your being to see this scourge contained. Wise guardians of the warriors of light, the time has come. Which of you will do as I have instructed?
That particular role falls to me.
It galls me, but you're the only one for it.
You watch over them, Sage.
Warriors of light, know that you do not walk alone. There are those who protect you, those who await your return, those who have entrusted you with the future, those who brave the same battle you do, and you walk with one another. Should despair take hold, and your spirits falter. Raise me aloft once more. Now go, onward, warriors of light, my friends across the bounds of time and place.
Who or what was that?
The Angel. The one who suddenly appeared and halted our fight 1800 years past.
And if I'm correct,
The Agnes of the world I hail from.
What?
I failed to protect her.
she may be, or perhaps not. Airy has interlinked tens of thousands of worlds.
Myself from a different world? But why? How could she have...
Perhaps her prayers for salvation reached the celestial realm. Or perhaps she sought only to warn her counterparts in other worlds. There is no way of knowing now.
May I ask, Lord DeRosso, what is it you must do?
That burden is mine alone. You will know before long, if all goes to plan. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've preparations to make.
Speaking of, I shall break the final seal upon the Kustra archipelago if it be of any use to you. I locked away the direst of the arms I took from the Orthodoxy in the cavern's deepest depths. You might seek them out, should you think it necessary before you face Ouroboros.
I think we'll take you up on that offer, Sage. Let's head over to the Kustra Archipelago to give my opinions on what we just witnessed. So, the pendant is some form of communication towards the Angel in various versions of Agnes, which is pretty cool. The idea that the Angel is potentially from Ringabel's world is one that, I don't particularly agree with. Sorry, Detective Ringabel. I have my own personal queries about that. But first things first, let's talk about this dungeon. Dimensions Hasp. This is a dungeon that is accessible to you only in this chapter, the end, and the finale chapter if you were to shatter the crystal. The criteria to obtain it in the finale chapter is a bit different. You need to go all the way to the edge of Vampire Castle and talk to Lord DeRosso, who will open it there. This place is a labyrinth wrought from illusion by an archbishop of the Crystal Orthodoxy in a past age. His magic strengthens the beasts who stalk its halls. Spells of teleportation are also nullified within. If you would press on, take care. So, we have a save point here. It only gets worse from here on in, of course. Make sure that if you're going into this dungeon to, make sure to have access to the the encounter rate adjuster, as that still works here, and because the enemies are very powerful in this dungeon, as this is basically like the super dungeon of this game, just make sure you're prepared if you're gonna fight these things and everything, like down here. If you missed out on vampire genome abilities, Dimensions Hasp is where you get them, as the gimmick of this dungeon is that every single regular enemy that we have ever seen in this game is down here for you to fight. Now, obviously, their stats are somewhat revamped, and they might have new skills, but every single enemy and every single genome ability that is obtainable through regular means is in here. So on this floor, which is replicating Harina Ruins, we have a few venomous snakes. We should be able to get, we can only get 2 crescent moons still, unfortunately. That's alright. The idea here is we're just gonna see if we can sweep through these guys. Their HP is roughly around 8,000. Most of the enemies in here have around 8,000 health. So just be ready to take that stuff down. all of the loot here in Dimensions Hasp is basically the best gear in the game and some of the best items, like that Mega Elixir. So this is absolutely worth your time going and completing, even if you're just going to turn off encounters and grab all the loot. Now, make sure you have some time set aside because you aren't going to be able to teleport out of here, so you need to be ready to walk back, so to speak. Let's just get this guy out of the way. Unfortunately, we had that physical defense up. Annoyance. The dungeon layout for Dimensions Hasp is identical to how the dungeons were laid out in the areas that they're based on. So, Harina Ruins, obviously, this is all very familiar to us. Gotta remove this blind here. Yatakarasu was a weapon we just got. That's a dagger. That would be really good for Idia, actually. Yatakarasu, 40 attack power, 95 aim. It's really good. Sure, why not? There's already a weapon replacement I'm thinking about anyways that's in this dungeon, so I'll be grabbing that soon. There's a Longinus, which is a spear, which is another very good spear. We already have one of these, though, so if you didn't steal those from Einherja in Chapter 7, you can grab one here. There's another really good spear in this dungeon, though, that we'll be going and grabbing. Enemy gets first strike. That's not good. Fortunately, Idia is kind of at death's door right now. I'm gonna be greedy. Okay, that one's living. Okay, we're staying and fighting. Unfortunately, we need to give Idia two-handed, I think. So, as I'm running through this dungeon, I want to go ahead and talk about what I meant earlier by I don't agree with Ring a Bell's conclusion that the Agnes, the angel, is his Agnes, his original Agnes. The biggest reason why I say that is because I just don't think it fits. There are multiple versions of Yulyana Needleworks and whatnot across multiple worlds, and it would be weird for the whole knowledge about the Evil One to just begin with a World 5, as I've said. It doesn't really make much sense. Now, I'd be content if that was the official answer of, like, who the angel actually is. But personally, I had a personal theory whenever I was playing the game, and it's one that I've kind of stuck to. If there is an official answer, I couldn't find one, like, in any interviews I saw. Also, a demon staff. Really, really nice staff. I'm gonna immediately put this on Agnes. Sorry, squirrel. I couldn't find, like, an official answer to who the angel was, which version of Agnes that was. So, the idea that I had when I was younger and playing through this game the first time, and the idea that I've stuck to, is that the angel is the Agnes that first ever shattered a crystal. And that's how she was able to get the pendant, the crystal, which is basically a crystal shard, how she was able to get a hold of that and communicate with future worlds, you know, DeRosso and Yulyana and whatnot. That's how she was able to communicate with them. She was the first one to ever break the crystal, find out that Airy was truly an evil one, and potentially even escape. We saw that if you watched the Shattered Crystal playlist, which, sorry, I'm going to be spoiling that segment a lot now, as it's kind of important to this segment, you see that if you were to shatter the crystal, once Airy has incapacitated Idia, Ringabel, and Tiz, Agnes is the last one left standing. My personal theory was always that she somehow survived that confrontation in another world, and was able to utilize the Dark Aurora or the Great Chasm to somehow traverse to another world, or even the Holy Pillar. Ooh, a Death Axe. I think we already have one of those. That's my personal opinion. If there is an official answer, again, I couldn't find one, but please let me know. Or hey, let me hear your theories. There's a Wonder Rod. We already have one of those though. Let's head to the left. I think that since this area right here is based on Mount Fragmentum, I think going to the right would actually lead us to the later floors, and I don't want to do that just yet. I want to get as much gear as possible from here. Yeah, let me know what your theories are, what your headcanons are. I'm very fond of talking about this kind of stuff. It's never fully explained. There's a lot of plot points in this game that aren't fully explained and just kind of left up to player interpretation, which, whether or not that's a good thing is up to you, honestly. I think it's fairly harmless. I don't think it's a great way of storytelling, a way of, doing storytelling, but it's relatively harmless. There's an Earthbreaker, which is a very powerful axe, 60 physical attack damage. However, do note that it only does earth damage. So if you're going up against an enemy that resists earth or drains it or whatnot, you're gonna be kind of fighting an uphill battle. You might want to switch your weapon for that. But this is really cool. The floor that we were on just earlier in Dimensions Past was based on the Wind Temple. Temple of Wind, sorry. And this is based off of Mount Fragmentum, as I said earlier. So, one thing to note, though, is that the enemies that you'll fight on each of these floors aren't exactly representative of what you would have fought back then. Some of the enemies will show up at floors that they normally shouldn't, or that they did not appear in the original area. A good example would be, what's a good example? The wind elementals that give you the genome ability White Wind don't show up in the Temple of Wind, surprisingly. They actually show up in a later floor that is completely different. But hey, it forces you to kind of explore the dungeon and not just... I guess you don't have to really explore the dungeon. You can just look up a guide and figure out which enemy's where. But this dungeon is specifically why I recommended that you get certain genome abilities, even if you're not going to use Vampire immediately. Take the time to go grab certain genome abilities, because the last time you're going to have access to them is actually going to be here. So it's really, really, really annoying to wait basically half the game to get some of the best genome abilities in the game, like White Wind. White Wind is only accessible in Chapter 4 or here, which is, again, really annoying. Let's see if, Aurora is enough to finish this guy off. I mean, I have a Demon Rod equipped, which has a little bit more magic oomph to it, but yeah, 800 damage is not exactly ideal. Let's go ahead and walk over here. This is based on the Witherwood, which is where we fought Iheria. I don't think there's any more loot for us here, so let's just keep walking forward. This is also a pretty long dungeon. It's the biggest dungeon in the entire game. It doesn't go through every single dungeon, area in the game, but it goes through a decent chunk of them. Let's hope that this is enough. Again, most of these enemies have around 8,000 health, so Tiz is just barely not killing them. Maybe if I give him the giant axe, he will. Now we're in Florum Gardens. We're gonna go ahead and maneuver around here. And... is there a treasure chest? Yes, there is. Yoichi's bow. I believe we have one of those already. Yep. Oh, we haven't talked about the Demon's Rod. The Demon's Rod is really, really good. Enhances the wielder's dark attacks to do 10% more damage. If you're utilizing that internment strat that I was using for Agnes, this is a really, really good rod to use. And then, oh yeah, we had the Yoichi's bow. I think I have already shown this off. Yeah, we have 4 of these, wow. Maybe that was, I think that was Artemia's steel. I don't remember. It's a little weird thinking back that the best steals in the game are all in Chapter 7. Chapter 8, the boss rush with the Eternians and whatnot, all of them have, turbo ethers, maybe an elixir steal, which is nice, but it's not that great. I'm gonna go ahead and put on a alarm earring on Ringabel, because I'm getting tired of the enemies getting the first strike. And then I'll have him heal everyone here. There we go. Having 2 fairly reliable healers in the party is really nice. And then Tiz is also pretty good. Okay, we have to walk through this patch of grass for the air knife. I think we have one of those. There are some dupes in this dungeon, but hey, I mean, 2 air knives, if that's something that you really want, then there you go. We have to use an Echo Herb, unfortunately, for this. And then we can use Agnes to cure up the remaining debuffs just by using one very simple Asuna. And then let's go ahead and just loop around. Can't go that way, so let's loop around here. I'm mostly leaving encounters on because I just want to showcase... I have to walk through the patch again. I want to showcase at least most of the enemies that you can find in each area, as again, there are a lot of enemies you can encounter in this game, in this area. I mean, you can literally encounter pretty much every enemy in the game. So just showcasing a few of them is very important. Artemis Bow is the best bow in the game. Deals 50% more damage to flyer monsters like every other bow. If you need a bow for a build, this is how you do it. Very, very good bow. Let's utilize another Echo Herb. Just on yes this time, so we're not going through our Echo Herb usage. Asuna on everyone. There we go. And we keep moving forward. Glad to be out of the Florm Gardens area. This is definitely a little bit more of a more annoying zone than the others. Now we're in Starkfort. This is where you can actually fight those arrow elemental lanterns, as I was talking about, which they don't ever show up in Starkfort, so it's a little strange. But, you know, it forces you to actually kind of explore a little bit. Let's see here. We got a Minotaur, kind of. We got a Minotaur reskin. The Daedalus there. No hidden area right over here. Kind of seemed like one. Get a piece of loot here. The Genji gloves. That's I think our second Genji glove. And then we have a bit of a forked area here. Now, they removed some of the stairs here, because this would have led to Kata. But instead, we have an Ama no Murakumo, which is the best katana in the game. And it also has a very unique effect to it, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. Where are you? Ama no Murakumo. 50% more damage to dragon-kind monsters, which is really good. So if you're fighting those dragons near Vampire Castle, or just any dragon at all, there you go. It's a pretty interesting katana design. I always thought it looked like a, you know, the Star Wars lightsaber, you know, giving the sword master or the ninja just a really cool looking lightsaber. It's a really powerful katana, and along with the Mutsu no Kami, that'll be Idia's weapons of choice for the foreseeable future. Let's go over here to the right. That's our means of exiting Starkfort, so let's go through this middle area. See if we can get Idia to attack. There we go. Get that high crit chance, but this Guardian is not going to make this easy for us. Ideally, we can take him down, though. He's got physical defense down now. He's just beating us up. He's very tanky, isn't he? Let's cast Stillness. His is going next, so what I'm going to do is... I don't really have any good way of doing this, don't I? Whatever. I'll just have him continue to do... Actually, I'll have him Brave once, have him apply Curse, and then I'll do Crescent Moon. I mean, I'll only get one off, but it's still something. And then I'll have Vanya's defaults. Ring-a-Bell can just do 2 Kiragas. That'll be more than enough. And this maybe should kill, hopefully? Oh, wait, no, we're still in Stillness, of course. I should probably read my own buff and debuffs, shouldn't I? I don't know here. Let's see. We can just dispel his effects. And then we'll have Ring-a-Bell default. Idia, just 2 Crescent Moons, and then call it a day. And that should be potentially enough? No? Okay, then I'm probably just gonna peace out. I don't exactly want to stay on one fight for too long. So I'll probably just try and flee. Come on. Come on. Stop being tanky. Let me run from you, damn it. Let me run from you. No. Do I have to fight you? I guess I have to fight you. Okay. I obviously, I can still run because it's not blacked out, but we are having a bit of issues. Okay, so what I'm going to do then, I'm going to do 2... Actually, no. Quicks are kind of pointless. Let's just cast Protect, Ring-a-Bell default, and Idia just Crescent Moon. Please be the end of the fight. No? Come on. No? Okay, I'll see you when this fight's over. Okay, that took a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but whatever. Anyway, let's see what's on the other side of here. Let's hope we don't run into that automaton again. If we do, I'm just probably gonna spam Stillness and run. Let's head down to basement floor level 8. Wow. Again, big dungeon. We are now inside of the underflow, which we have to deal with the stupid fire puddles. So, magician and a fire Dagon. Not bad. We can just set this up. We should be able to kill fairly easily. With the Amano Murakuma bonus, we'll be able to do a little bit more damage to that Dagon. Get a Dragon Fang, really nice. Oh, okay. Yep, we got the little burns. Honestly, turning off encounters might not be a bad idea here, but I'm feeling pretty confident in myself. Ow. I'm feeling pretty confident in myself. Let's just walk around here, because there is a treasure chest, of course. Gold hairpin. We have another one of those. That will lower MP consumption. Very, very, very nice. We already have 2 of those from our excursions in Chapter 7. I think I have more than 2 of those, actually. Yeah, I have 1 extra one now. I have 3 now, which is really nice. That means 3 of my 4 party members can have at least 25% MP reduction on their spells, which is very useful. This guy is very beefy. I should probably turn off auto mode. That's okay. EXP is no longer a problem, so Idia being on the ground and eating dirt is perfectly okay with me. Let's go ahead and raise her and have Ring a Bell heal everyone up. Honestly, I should probably turn on his epic group cast so that he can heal much better, much easier, but I'm lazy. Unfortunately, you do have to watch the little animations of the platforms being destroyed if you walk too close to them, just like the underflow, so be wary of that. I am actually going to go ahead and turn off encounters here, as this is just a lot of annoying stuff. And instead, I want to go ahead and talk about the entire finale as a whole. So, there are 2 very important things to note about this final arc that we're on. One, the final dungeons and this whole dungeon and whatnot, none of this changes from depending on what ending you chose. If you chose to break a crystal or you chose not to, these dungeons don't change at all. The loot inside of them doesn't. The way you unlock them does, but there isn't any like major significant change on like what items you obtain. So if you have shattered the crystal, you can go and grab all of these items. And one important thing to note is that if you decide to shatter the crystal and you beat the game that way, the game will prompt you to sort of reset your game. And so you can go through this whole stuff, have very good information about what you're about to go up against, and then kind of re-roll your playthrough, so to speak, and have a very good idea about what you're about to go into and fight, like Airy, for instance, as the Airy encounter is basically the exact same in both versions. The only major difference is music, and the larva version of Ares is slightly more aggressive in the Shattered Crystal storyline than she is in this one. Ares' stats in the Shattered Crystal ending are actually fairly lower, as you would be naturally lower level if you were to shatter a crystal right at the very end of Chapter 6, versus the true ending, which assumes that you've probably done everything that I have done, and that you've played the game to its fullest, going through every sub-scenario, fighting every boss, whatnot. Which is, I guess it's a nice little consideration. Chaos Blade. Okay, we've got a few items here as I've been talking. Let's see here. New. Kaiser Knuckles. These are some of the best knuckles in the game. If you want your monk or something to actually wear knuckles, wear these, but normally you're just going to have them unarmed anyways. What else did we get? We got a Chaos Blade, but we already have one of those. And then we have another Crystal Vest, I believe we grabbed. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing too crazy. Let's go ahead and head down south. Now, obviously, we know what this place is based off of. It's based on Eternian Central Command. However, the way to Idia's room has been completely walled off. So there's no way to rest your wounds here in Dimensions Hasp if you are injured. If you want to fully heal up your team, guess what? You're hiking your ass all the way back to Basement 1 and leaving through the exit and going and finding an inn. That is what you're doing. Aegis Shield. Now that is something I want to grab and immediately put on Agnes. Aegis Shield makes you the wearer immune to dread. But not only that, it gives a boatload of defense. Very, very, very good. Now, obviously, if you're going up against an attacker that utilizes Dark, go ahead and switch the shield over, but I'm not doing that just yet, alright. So, Aegis Shield will be going immediately onto Agnes, as it's a very, very, very good shield. Let's head to the right here. Blue chest. Gungnir. There's our other really good spear I alluded to earlier. Gungnir is the best spear in the game. And I'm going to mention this real quick. This is probably one of my favorite weapon designs in the whole game. I don't know why, but like the actual like spearhead just looks so high-tech and also like super ancient at the same time. It's one of my favorite designs. And like its weird yellow color. Ooh, I really like it. Obviously, I won't be wearing it on Tiz, but he'll be going back to the foxtail. Okay, this is annoying me. I don't know. Just seeing the 1 HP is a little annoying me. I'm sorry if this is annoying anyone else too. Actually, let me go to Agnes, as she has group cast all already. Yeah, just a few Kiras was enough to max us out. Save Ring a Bell some MP and my time as well. We have to kind of loop around this whole building in order to go up the stairs in here. This is kind of a complaint I have of the Central Command dungeon design as a whole, is you have to always take the long way around to get exactly what you want. Let's see, what else do we have here? We are... Oh, that's right. I'm back on the underflow. I went the wrong way. So, I'm going to go the right way this time. Now, this was not Central Command's fault. That was just me lacking any continuity in my own movements. So, I guess one last thing I want to talk about when it comes to this finale, the finale of the game and whatnot. Something important that I do want to mention is that there is a pretty decent spike in difficulty. At this point, especially for the true ending, which is what we're playing through right now, the game fully expects you to understand its core mechanics and job system to a T, and to understand that enemies are going to be abusing the Brave default system as much as we have been. This game gets pretty hard pretty fast. Now, I would say that the battles against the Eternians that we've witnessed the past few episodes are already some of the more harder encounters, and I just have made them look very easy. But trust me, they are gonna get tough. Now, there's a Muramasa right there, which is just what we had. We would have 2 Muramasas right here. If you do not have access to Norende Village, a Muramasa plus Amano Murakumo is probably your best bet for this ninja build I've been making. Either that or the Yatagarasu. Anyway, sidetracking. Do not be afraid of failure, as it's going to be very common here if you are playing on slightly higher difficulties and you get your butt kicked by, Airy, for instance. Ooh, a blue chest. Durandal. This is what awaits us at the very end of Dimension's Hasp. There's no stairs or anything here. Let's look at this. This is the strongest sword in the game. The blade of the legendary paladin Roland. Ooh. This design is a little curious for me. The sword is pretty cool, like the design on it and whatnot, and the color palette. But I've never really liked that the tip is just kind of chopped off. Maybe that's just me. But yeah. This is the end of Dimension's Hasp. It's a 10-floor dungeon. There's something that I feel like I'm missing. This wall looks a little suspicious. That's probably nothing. I'll see you at the top of Dimension's Hasp. Finally, I've made it to the top. Running back and forth in this dungeon is exhausting. But after making our nice trek through Dimension's Hasp, we have access to a lot of very, very powerful gear. And we have a pretty good idea of what exactly we have planned for us, as now that we have the gear, we can head straight to the Dark Aurora. But I do want to make a few more stops. First things first, let's head to the temples. If we enter the Temple of Water right now, what happens? Is the crystal already awoken? Are we in a completely new world? Let's find out. So, apparently, this crystal is already awoken, which begs the question whether or not we transfer to a new world at all, or if the appearance of the Dark Aurora just makes all of the currently not awakened crystals fully awoken. Or maybe it was just a developer thing and it has nothing to do with the game's like actual lore and narrative at all. I don't know, I just thought it was something neat to point out. But anyway, now that that's done, sorry, squirrel again once more. Next time on Bravely Default, we make our true final preparations in terms of gear, items, builds, what have you, here in Kaldisla. And then we come north to the Narende Ravine where the Dark Aurora awaits. So with that said, I'll see you soon.